Anyone who travels returns with an undefined grief that they have changed, yet the people that they had left behind have not. The fact that life moves on with or without you creates a temporal void, a gap that we will bridge by the end of this video. This temporal distortion is perhaps best depicted in the 1893 painting This Scream by the Norwegian artist Edvard Munch. The surreal motion in the painting is often interpreted as time slowing down or stretching out in moments of intense emotion and existential angst. In Edvard's own words, he is blocking out a recurrent, unending scream passing through nature. We've all experienced time that seems drawn out and drag on forever. How can our shared experience of time, a vast and overwhelming force of nature, be simultaneously subjective and, in the context of this video, transcended? In a recent experiment, participants reported a quicker passage of time during heightened heart rates, more specifically at low arousal in the systolic cardiac cycle time contracted, while in the dystolic cardiac cycle time expanded. However, at high arousal, this cardiac-led time distortion disappeared. This is consistent with the finding that a reduction in sympathetic tone induced by clonidine injection, which is sometimes used to lower blood pressure, results in the subjective slowing of time. The rapid passage of time during an aroused state creates a temporal distance of moments lost or unlived, which is experienced as a background unease of something that remains unresolved. When we exist outside this moment, we create a void within ourselves. We may not even realize what this is, but we sense it as the great lack, an insatiable void that something is missing. And we do not want others to see this, so we fill it up with food, sex, alcohol, and other forms of reckless consumption. This void exists as a visceral anxiety induced by the denial of the irreversible era of time heading towards our own extinction. This is perfectly articulated by the Golden Age syndrome, the erroneous notion that a different time period is better than the one that we are living in. And this is a flaw in the romantic imagination of people who find it difficult to cope with the present. When we are alone and sedated by scrolling, an entire day might disappear, yet nothing of consequence would ever happen. This distorted passage of time was shared globally during lockdowns and robbed us of 2 years of our life. When we meet people now, they are older and their experiences have changed, and even if things are better now than they were before, we feel a nostalgia for a time that was simpler. We know that this was a traumatic experience because people tend to avoid talking about it as if it never happened, a global coping mechanism of mass amnesia. Trauma is simply the replication of past experiences that debilitate your ability to respond in the present. Conventional medicine does not comprehend grief, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder as products of time, instead treating the distance created by time as a chemical imbalance. The solutions that we create are only as good as the questions that we ask. If antidepressants did work, we would see lower rates of depression and anxiety, but it is instead convenient to share a comfortable lie that SSRI research remains inconclusive, and so we can continue to administer what does not work. Trauma doesn't automatically go away and still evokes intense emotions even decades later. These memories can be highly vivid, but it does not mean that they are accurate. It is easy to dismiss the role of love in healing because it's not quantifiable or measurable, yet love remains as the single most neglected solution in mental health. Love does not change what happened, but it changes the way we feel when we look back with more accuracy. We don't have a change of mind, but we have a change of heart. We understand why someone behaved a certain way by observing their limitations and love them all the same. The distance time creates can only be bridged by love. Time will eventually destroy what love creates, but people misunderstand this paradox and call it pain. Love does not hurt us, only time can do that. In this regard, our temporal performance is a direct product of love. The gravitational pull of history deceives the body to react in the present as if the past was real. It is not uncommon for trauma survivors to check out of their body, as the discomfort of trauma is often inherited by the body. So part of the journey to recovery is healing this connection between brain and body. At the very core of what I teach is your heart is responsive to this moment. This is because your heart responds to reality before anything else does. And depending on your heart rate, you can either react to this moment through sympathetic arousal and this cardiac-led time dilation disappears, or you can respond to this moment at low arousal and time expands between stimulus and response. So instead of being easily offended and then regretting your words and actions, you can respond with love and your wounds will heal as they happen. This ability of the heart to respond before the mind does is what I term precognition. And in my advanced programs, I teach the precognition method, which inverts the brain-body axis so that we exist in this moment rather than outside it. This connection to our body is the weightless gravity that anchors us to this moment. And this precognitive state does not fragment reality into fundamental principles, but exists in a time-free space where we assume all possibilities at once. This temporal distortion vanishes because love and fear cannot coexist, and we cannot love in a hurry. Precognition gives us full conviction to this moment because we cannot live this moment again. We live this moment with a love so deep that we do not want this moment to end. And this is how we transcend the recurring, unending scream passing through nature. This body is the bridge between the visible and the invisible, and I hint towards this new reality in my book Hidden World, where I speak of love preferring twilight, and you already have what it takes to transcend the anomaly created by time. And ultimately, this gap exists as the distance between mind and body. The mind likes to dwell in time, while the body can only exist in this moment. So if you want to learn more about how to bridge this gap between mind and body, you can watch this video linked here.